Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Edens, a finance coach, author, and wealth mindset researcher. In today's video, I wanted to talk about 3 wealth lessons that I learned from this book. It's in the Secret series. It's called The Secret to Love, Health, and Money by Rhonda Byrne. And this is one of her more recent books. And I really enjoyed this book because I feel like it goes into a lot more of the kind of practical how-tos when it comes to practicing law of attraction. So if you enjoy working with law of attraction and manifesting, then stay tuned because you will really enjoy this video. So what is law of attraction? So law of attraction, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically the concept that our thoughts become things. And it's something that Rhonda teaches in this book and throughout her Secret series, is that the things that we think then really contribute to our beliefs about what's possible in life. And then those really drive how we feel about our lives, how much action we do or don't take in various aspects of our life. And so then that's going to really determine what our lives look like on a day-to-day and year-to-year basis. And so she really comes back to mindset. And I feel like Rhonda Byrne in the Secret series is one of the best series out there on wealth mindset. So if you haven't picked it up, I would definitely recommend both the documentary and all of the books. They're all fantastic. But this one in particular, I really enjoyed because it really hits those 3 areas that people struggle with, relationships, health, and money. And those are all things that can be very challenging and really come down to having your mindset in the right place so that you're fueling the action that you need to take to be able to achieve your goals in life. And I think that one of the things that's interesting as I was reading through this book and rereading it for today's video is that I think it's much easier for us to complain than to practice gratitude, but Rhonda is emphatic that we need to practice gratitude, especially when it comes to money, obviously in the other areas of our life as well, but particularly when it comes to money, because it's just so much easier to complain about all the things we don't have and the things we cannot afford, rather than to focus on what we want and start setting goals for ourselves in our life. And I have a video on this that I'll link to in the description. That's called Don't Say It's Too Expensive If You Want to Become Wealthy. And it kind of touches on some of these things as well, whether you talk about not saying things are too expensive or saying, oh, I can't afford that, and just putting up that mental block for yourself in that area of your life. Because while it's true that you might have things that you would really like to be able to afford down the road and you can't afford them right now, it doesn't mean you'll never be able to afford them. But if you stay stuck in what's called a scarcity or lack mindset instead of a wealth or abundance mindset, then it will just really stop you from being able to live your life to the fullest and achieve your fullest potential in every aspect of your life. Here on our channel, we talk about money, but in every aspect of your life, the things that you learn here will really help you kind of work on your mindset in other aspects of your life as well, I hope. That's definitely my hope, is to give you the tools to be able to live your best life and have the financial resources and skills to be able to live your best life as well. So the whole picture here with the Secret series is, and I think the tools that Rhonda gives us throughout the series is basically to stop focusing on all the things that are out of control of our life, because it's a scary world out there. There's a lot of things out there that, are very stressful and very concerning. We're going through really bumpy economic times that have really been going on since the pandemic started in 2020. And then we're still dealing with a lot of the fallout from that still. But being able to really focus on what do we have control over, because that's something that she teaches a lot in the book. And that's kind of when it comes down to it, when she teaches law of attraction or she teaches manifesting, what that really is getting at least the way I read it, is being able to stop focusing on all the things that are outside of your control, or worrying that bad things are going to happen to you or your loved ones, worrying you're going to lose your job, worrying you're going to have financial problems, worried your investments will perform badly, and having a life consumed with stress and fear, and instead move to a place of peace and gratitude and calm and happiness, just by making a mindset shift and then shifting our life as we go along the way as well, because it's just moving our actions in the right direction as our mindset shifts in the right direction. And so really being able to stop experiencing so much stress around money is something that's very helpful about this book in particular. Is it gives you some tools to be able to just stop feeling like, your money is out of control. I think a lot of times when I introduce myself to new people and I tell them I'm a finance coach, many people, in particular women, I've noticed I get the same reaction from, where they're like, oh my gosh, my finances are such a black box. Money stresses me out so much. I just find it so overwhelming and so stressful. Better you than me to be working in finance. And so, but our money is something that each and every one of us deals with every single day, day in and day out. So we might as well get comfortable with it and build the skill sets that we need in order to live our best life financially and level up our finances. And so what you can do is really start to tap into these concepts that Rhonda teaches in The Secret, of really focus down on, first of all, what are your goals in life, rather than focusing on what's out of control or what you're worried about. Focus on what your positive goals are in life, the things you want to manifest in your life. And then start, using tools like vision boards, which are either physical, cork boards, or something where you can cut out pictures and put pictures of inspiring images, or you can do a digital vision board. You could do a vision board on Pinterest if you like to do it that way. But being able to really kind of use those tools like vision boarding, working with positive affirmations around money and finances, journaling, practicing gratitude, and being able to use those kind of tools to be able to shift your life in a more positive and optimistic direction and be able to heal your relationship around money. So that's all kind of general things that I've really come away with from the Secret series about what works so well for people who benefit from the Secret series and benefit from working with law of attraction. And why does law of attraction work? I think that's a big piece of it, is just law of attraction works because we're changing our mindset. As we change our mindset, it starts changing our way we feel about our life. And then that starts making us feel more brave to take action, maybe in areas that had felt very scary and intimidating for us. And then we start to see results. And as we start to see results, we're like, oh my goodness, I'm getting really good results here. This is a positive snowball effect. I want to keep going. Let's keep going in that direction and keep taking constructive, Rhonda calls it inspired action, taking inspired action. I love that term so much. That was something that really popped for me with this book, was the concept of inspired action that goes back again to mindset work. So what are the three main wealth lessons that we can take away from this book in the Secret series? So the first one is to start feeling good about money. So Rhonda is emphatic that it's really, really important to start healing your relationship with money. No matter how long you have been managing your own money or not, no matter how much maybe money and numbers has been a negative experience for you in the past, or maybe you were told you were bad at math or struggled with kind of those types of classes in school, let me tell you something. Managing your money has nothing to do with being good at math. So you can just, leave that at the door and we'll all move on. You don't have to be good at math or numbers or algebra or geometry or anything like that to be able to manage your money. Managing your money is primarily about your mindset and about the approach you have to your life. And then secondarily, it's about having basic skills like budgeting, saving, investing, things like that we talk about here on this channel. And those things help you have the practical tools in your toolkit to be able to manage your finances day to day. But if you were not good at math in school, don't worry about it, because it's absolutely not a requirement to be good at managing your own personal finances. So we can all just take a deep breath if you're like me and you were a liberal arts major and struggled with math. It was not my favorite subject. So in fact, I had teachers that told me I really sucked at it, and that for some reason made that connotation in my mind of, I was like never going to be good at managing money either, because money's numbers, and so if I'm bad at math, I'm going to be bad at numbers. Totally, let's break that correlation right now, because anybody can learn how to manage their own money regardless of their skills with mathematics and economics and things like this. So anyway, just really to start healing your relationship with money and start to think through maybe where some of the stress that you've got around money comes from. If you had a stressful experience growing up where maybe you grew up in a very impoverished home where money was just always scarce, and so there was a lot of actual strain just around that, or if your parents had money narratives that you've just continued on into your adult life without really kind of stopping to consider if that's the way you want to do things. Um, these kind of money narratives and our relationships with money can often be generational. You'll often see families go generations, unfortunately, stuck and trapped in poverty or not great qualities of life just because that's just the way they've always done things. And sometimes people will, you see this a lot with immigrants to the US. I see this all the time with really inspiring immigrants who come here because they want their kids to have more opportunities. They go through just so much hardship and difficulty just to get their kids here. And then their kids are just incredibly successful because they're taking advantage of the American dream. And so I always find that really, really inspiring. But for many people, they're not willing to take that huge step of maybe having to move countries or leave behind family and friends or just really break the mold to be able to change your economic status. And so for many people, they end up kind of mired in the same situation generation after generation, whether they want it that way or not, or they just truly don't have access to much in the way of resources. And that's definitely an issue throughout the developing world as well, where they just simply do not have access to great resources like we have here in the United States and throughout the developed world. And so, it's like wherever you're starting from, though, wherever you're watching this from in the world, no matter how much money your parents did or didn't have, and no matter how much money you do or don't have at the moment, as you begin to work on your mindset and begin to heal your relationship with money and start to really train yourself every time you feel like tensed up about money or stressed about a bill because you're not sure how you're going to pay it or worried about where the next paycheck's going to come from, if you can just start to kind of release that stress. I'm not saying it's not a real issue to have a shortage of money because it really, really is, but start to release that stress around money and that tension around money and start to focus on constructive things you have control over. Like if you don't have enough money to get by month to month right now and money's really tight, how can you make more money? Are there opportunities for you to make more money? Are there even opportunities in your budget where you can cut back a little bit on things to free up money so you have some wiggle room? Because it's really interesting these days with inflation and also what I like to call lifestyle inflation, where a lot of times people will have very large annual incomes but still be cash poor because they're spending all their money servicing debt on their homes and their cars and their yachts and their vacations and things like this. So you can have stress around money no matter what your income is. It's definitely possible. So for most of us, it can be very helpful to just give yourself more breathing room in your budget, even if that means doing without a few things, or if it means going and getting a second part-time job or looking for a better paid job, just to build that breathing room. And so you've got a few extra dollars that aren't slated from the second they come in off towards all your necessities and some of your needs and wants. So that can help as well to heal your relationship with money on like a really practical level. But then also just starting to, stop identifying money as a stressful, frightening, scary thing that feels out of control and start telling yourself, I can manage my money. I can be financially independent. I can learn these finance skills. I might not have them right now, but that's absolutely fine because that's, what I'm here doing, watching this video right now, is learning these skills. And I will continue to learn and grow day after day after day. And it's those small incremental changes that are the ones that make the biggest difference. I just started rereading James Clear's Atomic Habits. And it was such a great book. But James, one of the things, I'll link to it in the description, highly recommend that you read it. And I'm going to do a separate video on wealth lessons that we can learn from Atomic Habits. But James Clear's, premise in the book is all we need to do is focus on the small changes, not have these kind of mountaintop moments or these defining pinnacle moments in our life that might come along once in a while and it's what makes our career or makes our relationship or it's the best day of our life or whatever. What we want to focus on is small incremental changes and focus on being, he puts it as just focus on being 1% better each and every day. And if you just try to be 1% better, like level yourself up, or in this case, level your finances up and your skills up, just by 1%. If you just do that for a year, if you multiply 1% by 365 days, it's about 37% better that you're going to be by the end of the year. So rather than, just kind of staying at the same place and not investing in yourself by learning new skills, trying new things, doing different investments in yourself educationally when it comes to finances, if you just try to make small changes and improvements, I love that concept of 1% a day adds up to 37% better by the end of the year. So super inspiring there. Can't recommend that book highly enough as well if you're working on your mindset around money and need some inspiration and some motivation, that it's okay if you feel like maybe you're mired in debt. Maybe money has always been a stressful thing for you. Maybe you struggle with a lot of impulse spending, which I've got a couple of videos that I'll link to in the description on that topic as well, because that can be a real struggle for many people and really hurt you on your journey towards financial independence and hold you back. So no matter what struggles you have or things you're going through, if you just say, from now on, starting right now, I'm going to make a commitment to be 1% better and get 1% better every single day in my finances in particular, and just continue to grow as a person and practice good financial habits. And it's really inspiring. I think it's easier to think about making small changes than to have to, shoot for the moon and have these big moments that are, amazing and wonderful. And but I think those are great too, obviously, but I think those small changes are the best to work towards. So that's the first one, is start feeling good about money, no matter how you've felt about it in the past, just start doing that. The second one is to practice visualizing yourself as a wealthy person right now, regardless of what's currently in your bank account. And this is something that Rhonda talks about in this book, is that it's really important to start thinking about, if you had all the money in the world, or the wealth that you feel like you would need to feel like you have enough money, no matter how much that is. You might be a millionaire, might be multimillionaire, whatever the case may be. But no matter how much money you feel like it would take for you to feel comfortable and be financially independent that way, have enough to get out of debt, save for retirement, things like that, invest for retirement, obviously, then just start thinking about what would I do with that money and how would I allocate it? And because she said that the thing is, a lot of times, and you see this in lottery winners in particular and other people who have these kind of sudden enormous windfalls, they've never seriously thought about what they would do with all that money if it did drop into their lap one day. And so often they'll end up a few years later with it all gone again. And they might have won the lottery for multiple millions of dollars, but because they didn't have the financial skills and the mindset to be able to know what to do with it, it was just as if they'd never had it, which is just absolutely fascinating. The psychology around that is really, really interesting. Because you'd think like, oh my goodness, if I won the lottery for like $10 million, not that I don't condone playing the lottery here on my channel, because I think it can, potentially be an addictive habit. But, if someone won the lottery for $10 million, you'd be like, oh my goodness, I'd never be able to spend $10 million. But then you look at all the things that are out there that you can spend on as you get more and more money. Things just get more and more pricey. All of a sudden there's $5 million homes, or, super, super expensive cars, or, maybe we'll get a vacation home somewhere. And by the time you start spending that kind of money, it is really easy to blow right through it. And so she said, just start thinking through, kind of visualize, what your life would look like if you had all the money that you want to manifest. So, for example, imagine being debt free. If that's something that you're dealing with debt right now that you're trying to pay off, imagine having your retirement fully funded so that you're financially independent. Start imagining what kind of home you would live in, what kind of car you would drive, the vacations and other experiences that you'd have with your family and friends, and be able to enjoy your life. So she said it's really good to get very clear on what your future life will look like as you have more money in your life, and to really start getting comfortable with thinking of yourself as a wealthy person. And I think this can be really, really challenging, especially if you don't have a lot of what I like to call wealth mentors. Like if you haven't really interacted that much with people who are very wealthy and been able to see how they live and the choices they make about their money, and the way that most of them will hire financial advisors to help them with their investments. And so they're not managing all themselves. Um, and just all the different things that go along with that. But if everyone you've ever been around has never had any money, then, or they just spend all the money that they make, even if they've got a good income, they're spending it all, then it can be really challenging. And I think this is where YouTube is so helpful, because there's a lot of very interesting, wealthy people on YouTube with channels. A lot of them, like I was mentioning before, a lot of them are children of immigrants who have built incredibly successful businesses and are now turning around and helping other entrepreneurs on the YouTube platforms. So definitely kind of look around either on YouTube or on Instagram or other social media platforms for wealthy people who are living the lifestyle that you feel like you would love to live, and have the mindset towards wealth and money and things like that that kind of mirror what you would do if you were in their shoes, and just start to kind of visualize that, not to build a lot of jealousy and resentment and be upset about that you don't have the things they have, but just that visualization practice. Because if we can't visualize ourselves living better or being debt free or having enough to retire, that's going to be a real major roadblock in being able to achieve our goals there. So as well as practicing affirmations and vision boards and journaling and gratitude around money, it can also be really helpful to find some real life mentors, or maybe there's people in your community that you look up to who are very wealthy and good stewards of their wealth that you could reach out to and say, hey, I'd love to work with you as a mentee. So all kinds of different opportunities there, and it doesn't even have to be formal. I think a lot of times I've learned a lot just from observing people who are wealthy, whether that's through social media or people in my community. Over the years, who I've had a chance to kind of be around them and see what their lives are like. And so it just really varies based on kind of what opportunities you have. But social media has really opened the doors to a lot of kind of wealth mentors, if you will, that we can observe on a daily basis and just see what their lives are like, how they conduct themselves, and kind of what their attitude is towards money and wealth in general. So that's the second point there, is to really work on visualizing yourself as a wealthy person now. The third one is to make a lifelong commitment to stop complaining about the things you can't afford and the things you don't have. So this is a really important one as well, because like I was saying earlier, you can make a lot of money or win the lottery or have a lot of money come into your life one way or the other. And there are more and more and more things out there to spend money on than you can possibly imagine. And so no matter how much your wealth is, there are things out there that you could spend it all on and still end up being somewhat broke. So it's just really good to start practicing gratitude for right where you are right now. And then as you grow your wealth, you will have already built that practice in as a habit. And so then when you get to a point where you feel like, okay, I have enough money, this is great, I've got all my goals met, I'm out of debt, I'm set for retirement, and I can live the lifestyle that I wanted to live and was my goal, then you don't get sucked into more lifestyle inflation and end up with more of that kind of keeping up with the Joneses, as your peer group probably gets more and more wealthy as well. And you don't get sucked into kind of a never-ending pursuit of possessions or feel pressured to have possessions as you continue to move up the ladder that way economically. And so if you practice gratitude now, that's just going to give you good habits for the rest of your life. And there was a really good quote that Rhonda said. She said, gratitude is riches and complaint is poverty. It's the golden rule of your whole life, whether in the area of your health, job, relationships, or finances. If you find yourself in a situation where you're about to complain about something to do with money, whether it's through your words or your thoughts, ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price for this complaint? Because that one complaint will slow or even stop the flow of money towards you. And I thought that was really fascinating, just thinking about that complaining can actually get expensive for us if you want to think about it that way. Because it's the wrong mindset that then is going to lead us to the wrong actions that will truly block the flow of wealth into our life. There's a really good book, and I'll link to it. It's by Jacqueline Hurst, and I think it's called You Do You. But it's a really fascinating book, and she's a CBT trained therapist. But I really like what she talks about in that book, where she said our thoughts create our feelings and then create our actions. And so it all starts with our thoughts. And, Rhonda Byrne talks about that so much throughout the Secret series. And Jacqueline Hurst talks about that as well in a lot of her work. And so our thoughts create our feelings, which then go on to create our actions. And so if we can really get our thoughts right and really hone down on practicing that gratitude and just make gratitude a habit and stop complaining. And I mean, whatever it takes for you to do to break yourself out of the complaining habit, I guarantee you it will make your life so much better, no matter if it's your money, your relationships, your health, anything else. When our brains are focused on everything that's wrong with our life, it just drags our energy down, and it unfortunately can drag the energy of the other people around us down with us. We've all been around those negative Nancys who have nothing to say that's good about anything ever, and are just constantly complaining and just very bitter and very negative. And they get very hard to be around after a while, no matter how much you might love them, because they can never see the good. They can never see the positive. They can never see the optimistic. And so, not to go all Pollyanna here, but it is so important to focus on the hopeful things in life, the positive things in life. I know the bad things are out there. I know that like many people right now are super stressed about money for very legitimate reasons. I know that leveling up your finances is very challenging, just because, especially if this is the first time you've really encountered this concept, and it might feel overwhelming. Maybe you have struggled with money for years and it's just been a real sticking point for you and a really unpleasant chore that you have to do when it comes to paying bills, or trying to remember to save some money, or trying to figure out how to open a brokerage account. It can just get very overwhelming. And so to stay focused on the positive and to stay grateful is the absolute best thing you can do for yourself as you continue to level up your financial journey. So again, I will link to this in the comments, but this was The Secret to Love, Health, and Money, a masterclass by Rhonda Byrne. Super great, latest book in her Secret series, unless I missed a more recent publication, but that was from 2021. And it had some really great stuff about health and relationships too that were obviously just phenomenal. But that is kind of my takeaways from this book in a nutshell, and things that I think you'll be able to benefit from and start implementing today. And then as you have time to either read the book, listen to it on Audible, check it out at your library, wherever you might have time to read that. But I think you'll really enjoy it. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I am always so grateful for your comments and for when you like and subscribe to my channel. It just really helps out as my channel is growing. And thank you so much for all of my new subscribers, my returning viewers, and thank you for being here until the very end. I'm truly grateful for you, and I will see you again soon in my next video.